and welcome to TelecomTV's main agenda, our regular super panel series sponsored by Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and Intel that focuses on the crucial issues affecting telcos and CSPs. Is open infrastructure the key to unlocking 5G potential for CSPs? That's the question we're going to be posing this evening to our panel, who are on stage with me tonight. It's quite fitting, really, seeing that we're in Los Angeles and just down the road, MWC Americas is in full swing, and it seems every telco and vendor is promoting some kind of 5G first. It's exciting times. I know when I started back in the 90s, one or two of you may remember those times as well, telecoms was quite frankly boring. It was dull. Decades where nothing really happened. And then along came GSM as a regional solution to helping the fledgling mobile industry get established. And then whoosh, you know, success worthy of Hollywood, really. One way of looking at mobile generations is by the markets that's defined them. 3G can be seen as being defined by mobile data, 4G defined by smartphones, and there's every chance that 5G could well be defined by vertical markets. 5G could open up whole new business areas, but only if it can downplay and manage the hype and if all the necessary required pieces are in place. One of those pieces is so-called open networking. So hence we're asking the question, is open infrastructure key to unlocking the potential of 5G for CSPs? We've got a great lineup of panellists hopefully going to answer this question for us tonight. And joining me this evening, starting on my immediate left, Klaus Pedersen, Hybrid IT Telco Segment at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Welcome, Klaus.
Thank you.
Next to Klaus is Mansour Hanif, Advisory Board Member UK 5G, formerly of BT and EE. And as of next week, I hear CTO of UK regulator Ofcom.
Are you supposed to?
Congratulations.
It's been announced today.
It's been announced today. Everything's official.
I'm
but
here
Mansour's
in private capacity. These views are not the views of.
Please don't take them as being anything to do with Ofcom yet.
Until Monday.
Until Monday. Next to Mansour, we have Caroline Chan, who is Vice President Network Platforms Group and General Manager 5G Infrastructure Division at Intel. Welcome again.
I got a fan.
Next to Caroline is Mustafa Ergun, who is Chief Technology Advisor at Turk Telecom. Welcome to our super panel. And next to Mustafa, Jason Keane, who is Head of Digital BSS Platform at Ericsson. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you.
According to Arthur D. Little, 5G is going to open up something like $500 billion of addressable and incremental revenue opportunity as it helps telcos embrace their enterprise customers and digitally transform. There's many such studies. All of them are overwhelmingly positive. But the journey to 5G is going to require this major transformation of network infrastructure if CSPs are going to be in a position to offer these high-value new services to their customers. First question, then. Let's have a look at a bit of a wish list. And we'll go down the line. Klaus, if I can ask you first. What are some of the key infrastructure elements required to support 5G?
Well, I think as Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, we provide some of the lower-level elements, if you will, in that network, and the availability of standards that allow innovation to flourish even at that level, so that the innovation that comes in from the IT industry, which is very rapid in terms of things like memory-centric computing, as an example, that will completely change computing as we know it, that the standards are in place so that can be absorbed over time and it becomes available. It's not a static world. We cannot define the architectures today and hope that they will pass through for the next 10 years. So having those standards in place so the innovation can flourish is critical.
Mansour?
Yeah, I think the classic ones for the operators are the obviously spectrum, site upgrades, site towers to upgrade, small cells, etc. So I think that the CSPs are going to be very much focused on making sure that the traditional way of rollout moves ahead, because it's not easy. They're going to have to swap out all the antennas and put in new small cells. It's going to take time. And that's where I think open networking can help, because with the architecture of 5G, which is completely virtualized, you can actually in parallel open up pockets of 5G in cooperation with other players in an open network way, which can actually help the mobile operators to get a faster coverage across the whole country, rather than doing it traditionally as we had to do in the past.
Caroline, some of the key network elements.
Yeah, so I won't repeat what everyone says, but Monday I was in an event and I was at the Network Edge event, and happened to sit next to me was Microsoft Azure team. It was very refreshing to hear what she said. To them, there's no such thing, the things we talked about. They're unhindered by all this. To really talk, for them, OCP is just given. Open compute platform is a given. Web scale is a given. Large scale rollout with the open environment is completely open. It's a given. So my mind is thinking, for us to truly be able to tap into the vertical market, which is their bread and butter, how do we get there from where we are today? We've been in a network transformation journey now for a while. All of us been in this. How do we get from where we are and to there in a hurry so that we can ensure the 5G rollout actually have ROI the way that the cloud guys has been driving the ROI on the back of our 4G network?
Well, I'm sure we're going to be expanding on this in the next few minutes or so. But Mustafa, what other key elements are required?
So, from the operator view, or if you're a vendor, you sell a product or service, and you have to support that product as a technical support over years, and that takes your time, effort, innovation, performance. And for me, 3G and 4G are technical support of 2G. So for 5G, we are trying to find out new venues, so vertical markets, and it looks like an opportunity, but it's a chicken egg situation. Who is going to invest in the operator side? Because operators are already being hurt with full of investments, and I'm sure we will have ways to incorporate third parties like for remote driving. We would like to get like Bosch into our system. For remote surgery, we would like to get a medical company into our system to solve this chicken egg problem. And open initiatives are handing off the burden of operators and vendors to the software community, which fortified the IT industry over years, and we'd like to get a piece of it, I believe.
And Jason?
Yeah, I think for me, with Ericsson, we've heavily invested in 5G, but it's not just about the RAN anymore. It's about the entire ecosystem that makes up 5G. If you look at 3G and 4G, we've got to take a broader picture than just the RAN and just the spectrum. We've got to look at the OSS to BS, and even northbound to that. How can we, from a 5G technology, enable those business cases? So while a lot of the focus has been on enabling the spectrum, enabling the service, whether it's edge, whether it's central, it's actually a much bigger picture, because I think the key aspect for me is, and we mentioned this previously, how we monetize this layer, how we actually make money out of it, and that's the key thing we'd like to answer.
The word and term open is a little bit emotive. It can mean many things. We've already touched on some of it in our opening statements there. But when we talk about open networking, specifically open networking, and how it affects telcos, what do we mean by open? Mansoor, can I come to you first on this? Because you're sort of a very strong believer in open.
I'm very open, and I'm very networks. So yeah, no, in my conception, and I think shared by a lot of people I speak to, is at the widest possible sense. And the reason why I think it's open across the board from networks, but also into digital infrastructure, is because the opportunity is there to actually widen the universe of CSPs, but of every enterprise, really. So as that universe is expanding, there's opportunities to actually get into those new revenues we want, which are clearly not going to come from our existing customers alone. They're going to come from other customers that are traditionally not customers. So to reach out to those, you've got to be open, because they are not traditionally part of our enclosed ecosystem. So there's an incentive for CSPs, but for everybody else to open up. And I think, to your point about digital transformation of infrastructure, that is absolutely happening, whether it's enterprise or whether it's public infrastructure. The digital transformation is happening, connectivity is underpinning that. What type of connectivity is the big prize? And if it's 5G, that opens up that world of opportunity to CSPs, but only if they open up the systems so those new players can actually interconnect and get value from their side.
Jason, can I get you as an alternative view, please?
I have a different interpretation, and I suppose when we talk about open, for me the interpretation is open standards, right? And I think the challenge is in the true sense of open, everything's visible, you can see it, but there has to be an incentive to to come in and invest into this, to invest in new technology. So my view as open is that when we look at existing CSPs, they will not be experts in everything. They will require some vendor to come in with a product that fits a solution, but that product that comes in must be open insofar as it will quite happily interact in the ecosystem. So my view of open is, if you're wanting to build the next 5G, business cases support it, maybe you have to take 3 or 4 components from individuals, but you don't have to necessarily know what's in them, but you have to make sure that they work together. So I'm more keen on the open standard that the components will interconnect to deliver the business case.
Klaus?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I believe you can have open and practically proprietary, and you can have proprietary but standardized and therefore in effect open. What our customers are looking for is choice. So depending on what type of CSP you are, when we look at the infrastructure, there needs to be a certain amount of integration, testing, etc., that comes with the elements. As you were saying, our CSP customers are not going to be the ones that do all the testing and hardening of all the components. So I think that the challenge here is to have this sufficient openness so we can actually encourage the innovation and moving the industry forward, but still enable companies like Ericsson to actually serve the role of integrator and hardening the systems end to end, so end customers of the CSP can then get the service they desire. And it's a fine balance, and I think the industry will have to find it based on commercial terms.
I think there is still a wider, again, I'll open up more. Open means having access to shared infrastructure. And what I'm saying now is that shared infrastructure is no longer just our RAN or our core or our transport. It includes the lampposts, the fiber, the ducts, and on the urban communities project that we've been working with the UK 5G, which is going on in the West Midlands. And it's a public-private partnership investment of up to £100 million to try and test out this model, really. And what that means is the local authorities will put into the pot their assets, or the public assets, and in return, they want to have open and shared access to all of those assets. That is a huge issue also for the CSPs, because even speaking to people here in the industry in the US, people are concerned that there's not fair access to those assets. And so the open is also the concept of having access to all the assets in an open and transparent and fair way, which can be monetized, but in a fair and open way.
Mustafa, you're our sole telco representative on the panel this evening. How does Telecom see open networking, and what can it do for Telecom?
Of course, we contribute heavily on open networking. The initiative started by AT&T, and we contribute as a board member. And as from the telco side, we have to ask this question: is open open? Is Linux open, for example? Is Hadoop open? Is it low cost, or is it shared, or is it a transformation from capex to opex? We have to find in our benchmarker so that we should name the open. And Hadoop is not open. We have Cloudera, we have Hortonworks, we have Mapr. Linux is not open. We have Red Hat. Android is not open. But I agree with him. Open should be shared. And but it's a challenge. Today, open initiatives from the telco is like a sandbox. They want to try out whether it will work or not. But at the end, I don't believe it will be a low-cost initiative, but it will be a move for shared infrastructure, where we can leverage so many other things and put more automation in it to cut our costs, basically.
And what you're saying, open doesn't mean free.
That's true.
People can make money for open. Red Hat does quite well in open.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Everybody likes open, but nobody wants to run it. And that's the key thing, right? So if you take that analogy, right, we love the idea open, we have transparency, but you go to your operations team and say, hey, I downloaded this off the web, please operate it for me to go. Where's my back-end support? What happens when it goes wrong? You're asking me for, 6 nines of uptime? Who's going to support this? So
but I disagree there. I mean, again, in the same way that open doesn't mean free, open doesn't mean not managed. We want carrier-grade open platforms. As we want. And I think we're not there yet, but I think another year of these trials, for example, will get us there, or get us very close to that.
But then we're on to the definition of open. So when you say carrier-grade open trials, you're talking open from an interoperability perspective, but you're still expecting vendors to deliver that block to you for interaction. And that's where I feel open needs to be. you know, we need open standards and standards that we can interoperate in. But then if we go too far open, you know, it can take, mentioned before, 18 months to get an open standard ratified. But innovation generally outpaces the ability for standards to keep up, right? So it's trying to find that balance.